and joined by Miranda Kahn. I'm Rick Blackwell, filling in for J.D. Hayworth. Now back to the deadly attack in Tennessee that killed 4 Marines.
Yeah, authorities still have yet to determine a motive, but there's a lot of concern about the fact that the Marines were not allowed to carry firearms while working at the recruitment centers.
For more, we bring in Afghanistan veteran Brian Mast. He's also a U.S. congressional candidate in the state of Florida. And also joining us, Bob Harvey. He's the chief instructor at the South Florida Gun School. And welcome to Newsmax Prime to you both. Brian, as a guy who's seen combat, when you hear one guy was able to cause just so much carnage at our U.S. military facilities, what was your initial reaction?
You know, first of all, absolute heartbreak. I've heard that term used a lot in the past few days. I'm talking about this. We're talking about heroes that were basically, murdered inside of the country that they fought to defend. And I think it's what makes it more tragic is that there's probably few that are more trained to carry firearms safely that were not allowed to have firearms.
Bob, I want to ask you, because you're a former Marine and a former Marine Guard, what concerns you the most about what happened in Tennessee?
That it's not the first time it's happened. Liberal policies in D.C. are absolutely killing us one person at a time. We saw this exact same thing happen in Fort Hood. Every Marine and every soldier and every sailor should be armed. It's not like we haven't had a warning. They've warned both the military individuals and they've also warned the families that they're coming to kill us.
Well, Brian, what do you know about the policy? Why is it that these Marines were not able to be armed? And do you think that's going to change? Do you think the Pentagon may make a different ruling as a result of what happened?
I've seen a lot of people pointing this back to the, some Clinton-era laws that were created. I don't know if those are the true roots of it or not, but that's what I've seen. I think you will see something changed. As was just pointed out, this isn't the first time that we've been bringing up this conversation. We brought this up after Fort Hood. We brought this up after the D.C. Naval Yard shootings, and I think it's something that we have to really accept is that ISIS and other offshoots of radical Islamic terror have basically decided that the United States is their new battlefield. And that's something that we have to come to grips with and be able to combat it, especially those that are specifically being targeted, like our members and their families.
Right, and with that in mind, I want to go to you, Bob. The recruitment center is considered a soft target. Does Homeland Security need to also focus on those type of targets when they issue these kind of terror warnings?
There's no such thing as a soft target. There's either armed or unarmed. In this case, we had folks that were disarmed. The recruitment office was not where the murders happened. Yes, that's where the initial shooting started, but it happened actually on a base. Now, the sad part about this is you had a gunnery sergeant, Thomas Sullivan, who is a 2-time Purple Heart owner award. He certainly had been shot at before and could have defended himself if he had been armed.
Too many tragedies, obviously. And Brian, you are running for Congress. So as you sort of think about the policy, what specific things can be done to protect our U.S. military members here in the United States?
It's exactly what we've been talking about right now. We have to take, these individuals that have actually faced those individuals that are coming here to combat us. We face them on the battlefield. We know what to expect from them. We know that we have the grit and the determination to combat them, and we need to be given the tools to say, listen, you're being targeted, your families are being targeted, and we're not going to let that be the case. We're not going to let ISIS pick this fight with you and not allow you to not defend yourself.
Bob, I have to ask you this, and I hope I like the answer. Do you think this could happen again?
I guarantee you it'll happen again. I guarantee it. Washington, D.C. has blood on their hands right now. They saw this happen at Fort Hood, and they called it workplace violence instead of accepting the fact that we are at war.
So, Bob, what do we need to do with that in mind? What do we need to do?
The first thing we have to do, at least that I learned in the military, was identify who you're at war with. Start with that. The second thing is arm our troops and arm our citizens. The liberal policies in D.C. just absolutely kill us. The restricted gun laws, the illegal immigration with violent criminals that come in. If you think for 1 minute that the Muslim terrorists aren't coming across the southern border, setting up the next situation, just like Chattanooga and Fort Hood, then we're all sadly mistaken. D.C. still has not called this a terrorist attack.
Bob, real quick, Brian, your comments. Do you think that Washington has blood on their hands? We have like less than 15 seconds.
I would say they do. This is something that absolutely needs to be addressed by the Pentagon.
All right, Brian Mast, running for Congress in the state of Florida, also a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and also Bob Harvey, chief instructor at the South Florida Gun School. Thank you for your comments, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. Send us your comments via email, Facebook, and Twitter.